We'll call the meeting to order. Four of us in attendance tonight. Katie had a prior commitment and couldn't make it, and Bill will be leaving us. We'll deal with that subsequently as an agenda item. Before we approve the agenda, would you stand, please, and join us in the pledge? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have just a few changes to the agenda. If you look at new business action items, would you please delete number 1 under new business, consideration to approve an FMLA request? And dropping down, would you put an addition on there at number 10 for resignation? And number 11, we'll call that a rehire. So if you add those points. And do you have anything else?
I do not.
Once we make those changes, I would look for a motion to approve the agenda with amendments.
I'll make a motion.
Jolene on the motion,
I'll second.
seconded by Luke. Other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. We have two scheduled presenters. Mr. Strauss is here to talk about Alice and safety preparedness, and the floor is yours.
All right, so a lot of this stuff is gonna be some review from, it was only, I think, March when I had to give, I didn't have to, at that point, we wanted to give an update on safety committee happenings throughout the year. With some of the legislative changes and implementations, there's something that board members need to do each year, so we decided we wanted to get this one done, at least check one of those things off of our list as soon as possible. So, Mr. Sampson, you can go to the next slide.
Okay.
So, our Alice procedures, according to the languages, drills and their simulations, our drills are conducted with students. And Jennifer and I were actually presenting to new staff today, and we made sure we hit on this big time when we're talking about anything related to Alice. All the language, scenarios, et cetera, are age appropriate. So when you're talking to a first grader about anything related to Alice or intruders, the language is very different than if you're talking to 11th or 12th graders. There's walking to and from a rally point, and that might not even be, considered as a part of a drill. That just might be elementary students going for a walk, so a teacher can point out, hey, this is where this church is, so if your teacher ever tells you you need to go to that church, this is where you're going, or if whatever it is. And then there's discussing options, there's brainstorming ideas, but there's no physical component to it really. Simulations are different with staff. That includes all of the above. And then there's an individual that portrays an intruder, and those are every other year that we do the full-scale simulations with staff. And then we do other training on the opposite years of those. And then there's noise and movement that mimics an event. There's a, in both situations, there potentially could be, an announcement over the PA system, and obviously the language is different depending on if it's a drill or a simulation, and then even then it's different depending on the language of everybody. And then with both of these, student staff, whatever the situation is, they always have an option to opt out, to leave, to not participate in something, if they so wish. Got a little ahead of myself. There's that kind of bullet point there. So related to the mental health and wellness component of all this, again, every year we have some students and some staff that, for whatever reason, do not participate in the drill or the simulation. Debriefings are held afterwards for the sake of everybody involved in terms of what happened, what went on, and then just how are you doing type of things. We always have counselors and social workers available to talk to anybody that needs it, including, both students and staff members, because again, that does happen. And then just the last bullet point there, Safety Committee and Administration believes that these have been beneficial to safety and preparedness of students and staff. We've done a lot in the 6 or 7 years, do you guys remember, since we've started Alice now?
7.
7 years since we started implementing Alice. tweak things, change things here and there. We've gone to updated trainings, we've got new staff members trained, and we just feel like that this is a good direction that we're going in, and Mr. Sampson's on board with that since he came into the district, and he's a big proponent of this as well.
Yeah, and it's part of the board has to okay us continuing drills as part of the legislative update, which is ironic, because Ms. Altendorf is here. So as part of this, we're asking you to, we are recommending that we continue these drills that we do. I believe that they're beneficial, and I don't think we want to have to answer for if something would ever happen and we're not prepared.
I just have one question regarding that. You said some staff chooses not to participate. Is it a high number, or is it?
It's a pretty low number.
It's a pretty
Sure.
high number.
We had one last year.
Just one.
District-wide
Years
one.
Before that, I think there was 2
Yeah, and I think one of those was pregnancy that didn't want to.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
And again, we talked about this in depth before. ALICE exactly stands for,
So it's an acronym: Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, Evacuate. And it's not necessarily a sequential, series of strategies. It's just those are kind of the initials of different steps that you could do on your way to trying to get to safety.
And then when did we end up doing, or did that not happen yet? I thought it did, where we did like the full mock with like law enforcement in town and everything like that.
We're doing that in November.
That's coming up.
November 6th.
Yep.
Okay, and
Yep.
when, have we done one of those ever? No, this will be the first one.
At least not since I've been here, and I
Okay.
don't think it's probably since Tim has been here, but that is something that we are planning with our new county, what's
The emergency management.
emergency
director.
management coordinator.
And every other year when we do the staff training, we do, invite law enforcement to partake in that, because they were a part of the training initially when our district adopted this.
When we do like that full mock-up, is there anybody other than school staff and local law enforcement, is there any other outside companies that by chance are coming to observe, to like look for holes and stuff like that? Because I know
Maybe
they have
the
some companies
Minnesota-
that do stuff like that.
The
We'll have-
Minnesota Safety Center.
Yeah, the Minnesota School Safety Center will be here.
Okay.
The county will be here, local law enforcement will be here. And then Earl did say he was going to talk with, was it Pine Island that just
Other
completed one?
administrators that
I think
have been
other
through it,
administrators
just
from
like
Pine
we would
Island, I think
also
he
go
said.
help another district in the process of it.
To kind of help.
Have a
see
different
what
set
we
of
can-
eyes.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Earl's been great to work with. There's, I don't know if it's a new program, but it's a different program that folds in nicely with ALICE that we've been talking about using as well. And can you guys remember
That's the I Love You Guys Foundation.
the I Love You Guys Foundation and working with them on to expand on what we do? So
Awesome.
it's been good conversations.
Mhm.
Any questions? Or any other questions, I should say. We do need to accept or directing us to continue to do drills.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Clint on the motion, seconded by Joe Lynn, to approve the ALICE drills. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That is carried. Our other scheduled presenter, Pam Altendorf, is here, our local
So-
representative.
Unless you want to go to her first before we do MCAs. It's up to you. You're leading the show.
Let's go with Pam.
Okay.
Come back to MCA, just in case you have other scheduling things.
Mix it up a bit, so that's good. Well, thank you very much for having me today. I'm Representative Pam Altendorf. This is my first time as a state representative here in Minnesota. And if I look hot and sweaty, I just came straight from the Minnesota State Fair.
Did you bring any cheese curds with you?
No. The lines were too long. And I would debate it back, but yeah, you plan to get out and you give extra time and it's like traffic and stuff, and you're like, shoot, okay, I'm cutting this a little bit close. But again, thank you. I've just been really in the interim here, making my rounds around the district, going to city council meetings, going to school board meetings, so thank you for this opportunity. And this is just very important for me to build these relationships as we're moving forward, especially because I am serving on the Education Finance Committee. And so I know one time during the state session, I was, with the relationship I had with Superintendent Sampson, we were texting right during a committee hearing when we were talking about raising the part-time pay to a minimum, I believe it was $25 an hour, and just asking questions really pointed, like what kind of impact would this have on a school like Cannon Falls? And he was able to get some numbers to me. I was able to speak on the issue. And it was really important because at that point, some of the things that were coming through seemed like maybe that would work in a metro area school, but the impact of doing something like that, especially in a small town, would really be, driving up not just the wages here that the school would be forced or mandated to pay, but could actually impact the whole city. If we're raising the level of minimum wages, and we know there's a workforce shortage, so in this example, that could be pulling people away from a restaurant and making literally another business close because we are at just that much of a workforce shortage right now in the state of Minnesota. And so I just want to say again, like, it's very important to me to build these relationships. I have my cards here. I'll pass those around. And please, put my cell phone number in, especially during session. People in my district are my top priorities. When there's big issues coming through, it's nothing on the emails for us to just be, it's like ding, ding, that we could be getting that many emails coming through. So I always tell people in my district, please save my cell phone, because even if I'm on the floor, if I'm getting a text, I'm able to see that, right away. So one good thing that passed here in Cannon Falls, I was excited, worked with Luke and, Bucky Lindau. We were able to get funding for the baseball field and to put towards that. So that was one big win. For me, just being a fiscally conservative person, and I think most people, whether, you're a homeowner or a business owner, most of us, realize that we need to balance our budgets. And to me, one of the most disappointing things was just, we went into the session with a $19 billion surplus. We were promised to the schools, it was a campaign promise that we were going to fully fund schools. And as many people are seeing and struggling with at the school levels, like for example, Minneapolis came out with a report that they're going to be 50 million negative. And it's just disappointing to see that we went in with such a big surplus and then what happened. And if I can tell you what happened to that, it was truly a growing of government. It's growing by adding mandates and taking away some of the local control. So I'm pretty easy to know where I'm going to stand politically, and it's to give local control to here. I trust you. You've been elected to these positions, and I trust the superintendent. I trust the people in Cannon Falls that your tax base, where your top dollars need to go. Here in Cannon Falls, better than me sitting up in St. Paul. And also what you need here in Cannon Falls is very different from Red Wing, is very different from Goodhue. And so I am always going to support local control. Now, when people might not understand, well, what does a mandate mean? It's basically when we put something into law, now moving forward, you always have to make that happen. And just one of the big examples would be the free school lunches for all. That was a mandate that is funded for the first couple of years. But now that it's law, moving forward, because we were at a surplus situation, if in a couple of years we're at a deficit as a state, Cannon Falls School is still going to be responsible to fulfill that mandate, even if the funds are not available. So again, for me, what I would have preferred to see is if there was a need for school lunches to be paid. None of us are against feeding children that are hungry, of course, but it would have been raising the threshold to including a higher percentage of kids, or to give one-time funding. Because again, I trust that Cannon Falls would know where those funds need to go for their lunch program. And when we're doing a blanket approach like we just did, Edina, kids in Edina, not to pick on them, but they are a city that has a lot of very highly employed people with making a lot of high wages. And so moving forward, the state of Minnesota and the school districts will be on the hooks to provide those school lunches, those breakfasts for families that potentially do not need it. And so again, my philosophy is always to give local control. I do not like mandates, so in the case of the school lunches, I think there was a better way. You could still take the funds, you could give them to the schools, but you did not have to make it a mandate, which I believe could make a future problem, and that's what's very worrisome to me. meant to start out with this, but I do want to thank you all for everything that you're doing. And I do appreciate it. I do understand there's a large amount of time that goes into this, to volunteering, and what you're doing here. It's important. Public school education, there's nothing more important than the future of our kids. And truly, this is a place where we have to be putting our energy. And again, I don't know about anyone in the room, you don't have to answer it, but is there anyone you agree with 100% of the time? No, not even your spouse, right? You don't agree with them. So it's like, we all have the same goals. We want good education. We want our children to succeed. But there might be a little bit variance on how we get to those same goals. And then I'll just pass this around as well. And if anyone else wants it, but if everyone just wants to grab one, but, oops, sorry. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about the health of our state. And again, it's no surprise, I'm a fiscally conservative person. I think we have to balance budgets, we have to make things work. But it's my job as a state representative to take the pulse of the state of Minnesota, to understand the health of Minnesota moving forward. And I do have concerns about the health of Minnesota that are warranted. But unfortunately, I do believe that the media in Minnesota doesn't always do the best job reporting the media fairly, what I would say. So I'm not sure how many citizens actually are aware of some of the things that passed this year. And I'm not gonna go over all these, but we had a big session. We had a record number of bills that came through, over 6,000. This is like unheard of. So what happened was a lot of bills went through very quickly, and what I would say now, as we're seeing with the SRO, which you're all aware of that, the school, I don't know if you've talked about that, school resource, you've seen it in the news, the school resource officers. I've talked to the Goodhue County Sheriff, I've talked to the Dakota County Sheriff, and these are real concerns about laws that passed, but now there's a lot of confusion, a lot of gray area, and mistakes were made during the session, and then we have to figure out how to fix it.
Are you talking about the restraints?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have an SRO officer here? No, you don't? Okay. And you never,
We haven't had one for
okay,
ever, have we? Not since you've been here.
10 years, probably, more.
okay. So, so that is a concern. It's obviously not here affecting you at all. But anyways, what happened this last session is we went into it with a $19 billion surplus. Taxes were raised $10 billion. Our new budget went from $52 billion to $72 billion, which is a 40% increase. And then we had a lot of new laws that were passed. So just real briefly, but a concern, and again, this is something that anyone in this room can go check. And we have to, for the first time, I would say since COVID 2020, one thing that happened when people were locked down and started working from home is more and more people are working from home. And they have the flexibility to work in Minnesota, or Wisconsin's not that far away. Or they can move to South Dakota, Texas, they can move to a more tax-friendly state. And so when you go down to concerns, we are right now in Minnesota in a crisis of losing income earners. That's very concerning because that's our tax base. So this, and again, this is data that's right from the IRS database. It's online and anyone can see it. So if anyone is questioning this, people might say, well, people are leaving Minnesota because it's cold. Well, let's compare Minnesota to Wisconsin. We're both cold. Wisconsin lost in adjusted gross income 61 million. Same year, Minnesota lost 1.56 billion. That is a problem because, again, that's where our future taxes come in. And that's why I want to talk to you, to the school board, is because even though we had a surplus, even though this last year they said we had the biggest increase to school funding ever, what also came with it was a whole lot of baggage and a whole lot of new mandates that you're going to have to uphold moving forward. But also when you put your hand on the pulse of Minnesota, it's not very healthy with us losing our income earners. There is a people leaving the state, And if you just look at population, you might go, no, Representative Altendorf, we are not losing the population. That's not what I'm talking about. We are losing income earners, and that's a fact. That's our tax base, and that's why moving forward, I am very concerned for schools, for education, and for the basics of society, like public safety, the things where government really needs to be allocating money and putting our money into those places. So I think that's a little bit about me. I'm happy to answer questions, but again, I guess my cell phone is also on that page I sent out. I think, yeah, I put it at the bottom. That's my actual cell phone. That's not a line. Text me, call me, email me, and I'm more than happy to discuss any issues with you. But that's just a little bit in a nutshell, but I just want to reach out, and I also, again, want to thank Superintendent Sampson, and again, I look forward to building other relationships. But I think moving forward, we're going to have some challenges, and we really need to face them, and really get creative and work through what's going to be coming. And there's a lot that's potentially going to be happening even within the next year.
Representative Altendorf, with this coming session, it's usually a non-money session, but do you foresee money kind of creeping back into that to address some of the issues that were the shortfalls that came up?
Yeah.
Specifically, I know there's concerns around the unemployment piece, about whether that was properly funded or not. Do you hear that on where you guys are at right now as well?
Yeah, so this typically is not a budgeting year. However, just like you said, because of the massive amount of legislation that was coming through so fast and so quickly, there is no doubt that we are seeing very clearly now that mistakes were made. I can't speak specifically if that's going to be able to be addressed, but those are issues that we're going to have to start talking about right now to fix it.
So there's some recognition that there may be need to go back and readdress some of the issues that may come up out of some of these items. Not saying all of them, but just some of the items.
Absolutely, and that's why even like when I was talking to the sheriff and now I'm talking to the school board, it's very important that you are talking to me or talking to other people on the committees or talking to, you have a lobbyist group that supports the superintendent's rate. It's very important. And again, I understand everyone in this room is not a Republican or Democrat, okay? I absolutely get that. But right now in the state of Minnesota, we have complete control of one party. There's no backstop, and there's also no negotiating happening. I have never seen such a lack of disrespect, of forcing through an agenda without following procedures. That's what happened this session. There's no backstop. The Republicans do not have the votes, but what I have seen is they do respond to public pressure. They actually really do respond to public pressure. And so whether it's the superintendent's group or, some other group, or people are literally going to the state capitol and, they're talking to their legislators, they're making phone calls, they do respond to public when they get a lot of pressure. And I do think we have to understand that. We can't just continue to think it's going to get fixed or we'll just wait till the next election cycle. Some of these things need to start being addressed now before, we're going to be putting a big tax burden on our local taxpayers. So I don't know if people are aware of the unemployment insurance, if anyone wants me to speak on that, or yes, no, do they understand? Or
I think a few of them do. Most of these are educators in
Okay.
the room right now, and
Okay.
I'd say for the most part they get it.
Yep. So just really high level, but the unemployment insurance, that new mandate that went through, that's funded in the first year. It is anticipated to take 2% of the formula. In year 2, that increase to the schools is 2%. So the entire increase in the formula in year 2 would be going just to cover the unemployment insurance. So that's where when you see that formula increase was 4% one year, 2% the second year, just the unemployment insurance would take the entire increase.
I think our concern from at least the superintendent's point of view is that what was allocated to refund to schools won't last
The
the
first
length
year.
of time. Right, it won't last the first year,
Oh,
but
it's-
it's supposed to last for 3 years.
Well, they never said that. So
Well, whatever the amount of time
Right.
that they said that it was going to last, there's fear that it won't last just
Yeah.
this.
So the nonpartisan fiscal researcher said it would only last 1 year.
Okay,
But the Democrat Party said it would last, I believe, 2 or 3 years.
well, and that's
Yeah.
neither here nor there, but I think that
Right.
if that is gonna be an issue, that needs to be addressed because those dollars come straight from our general fund, unlike the regular unemployment piece.
Right,
We have to pay for it directly out of our general fund, so it
Right.
doesn't go through the state coffers, it comes out of the school districts.
Right.
Just so that you guys are aware of it.
yep. And those are the kind of things, like I said, I think going into this next session that we have to really start,
Looking at.
discussing it, I mean, bringing it, raising it to a very high concern.
Yep.
Questions?
No, I would just say thanks for being here. I think as you travel the district or the Goodhue County and you talk to school boards, if you have school boards doing creative things and good ideas and trying to find ways to share that with Jeff and if we can
Yeah,
all learn
absolutely.
together, I think that would be helpful as you make your travels. I think the income earners portion of this is really interesting. In Cannon Falls, the city, hasn't grown in some time. Enrollment's been a focus of mine or a focus of all of ours for some time, and to see that is kind of disheartening as we have developments that we hope go in and whatnot. So that's a shame.
Okay, thank you for your attendance.
Thank you for having me, and just know that I'm available, and I'm very, very happy to discuss even, whatever. I'm very happy to be speaking to people in the district and to, like I said, I know we don't agree on everything, but we can work it out, and I'm more than happy to be a voice, and to raise awareness to these issues, so.
Thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you.
You're more than welcome to stay if you want, obviously.
Yep,
So,
thanks.
Okay, Stephen, MCA conversation?
Yep, so, each year when MCAs are taken in the spring, once the data is released publicly, which it was last Thursday, try to give an update to the school board on MCA results from the appropriate, grade levels in the district as a whole. That's what this is more about, is the district numbers as a whole. And then a little bit of comparison, and then kind of just as a district, some, what are we doing, things like that. So you can move on to the next slide, Mr. Sampson. So just some general comments on Cannon Falls and statewide, the increases or decreases that happened. So just from 1 year as a district to the next year, Cannon Falls saw a decrease in reading and science proficiency, but an increase in math. And just so you guys know, the proficiency, where that comes into play is there's 4 different categories. There's does not meet, partially meets, meets, and exceeds. Proficient is considered meets and exceeds, so it's those numbers together. And Cannon Falls, as a district, was above the statewide numbers in all 3 of the subject areas. Statewide, similar decrease in reading and science proficiency, but an increase in math. Next fall, I'll get back to doing the kind of the cohort tracking that I had done in the past before COVID. For a couple reasons. One, it gives us 1 more year, so then we'll have 4 years worth of MCA data to track students. And then also, since science MCAs are only taken in 5th, 8th, and 10th grade, the group that took science MCAs in 5th grade in 2021 will have taken them a second set of science MCAs, whereas now they've only taken 1 set of MCAs since 2020. And then just all students that took the MCAs are included in the results. MTAS is different. MTAS, just so you all know, it's the Minnesota Test of Academic Skills. That's a test for students who might have some sort of cognitive ability that is maybe not on par with taking the MCAs. Locally, there's grade-specific and other data available on the Minnesota report card. So on the next couple slides, we'll see some raw data and then some comparison. And that's again the district as a whole. So when we're looking at math numbers, math is in grades 3 through 8 and grade 11. Reading is in grades 3 through 8 and 10. And then science is in grades 5, 8, and 10. So that's all those numbers combined. If you wanted to look at just 3rd grade, for example, or just 8th grade, you can look that up on the Minnesota Report Card website. So if you were to just Google Minnesota Report Card website, you can click around, enter in whatever you want from this past year. And again, that information was made public on Thursday. So building goals for the middle school, high school building and the elementary building, and some staff development sessions as well are tailored to the needs that are identified by kind of the admin team, staff development team, and PLC groups. And then individual score reports so that parents can see individually how their child did. Those will be sent home at fall conferences or shortly after.
I think I skipped one, but I guess I didn't.
So again, reading MCAs are taken in grades 3 through 8 and in grade 10, and you can see the comparison there from, what I did is I took the districts that touch Cannon Falls and then the statewide numbers as well. So again, this is the percent proficient. So again, within those 4 levels, it's the students that meet standards or exceed standards. You can see there where we're at for reading. Next one, Mr. Sampson. For math, same thing, just the grade levels are slightly different. It's grades 3 through 8 and then grade 11. You can see where we're at compared to other districts with math and then compared to the state. And then for the last one, this is science, and this is grades 5, 8, and in Cannon Falls, it's in grade 10. The state says that you do science MCAs in high school in the year that you take biology. So in Cannon Falls, that's in 10th grade. So grades 5, 8, and 10 in Cannon Falls. And you can compare those as well, statewide, and then to our neighboring districts. There's a blank slide in there. So here is all the raw data from those slides. You got state, then Cannon Falls, and then on the left side there, the neighboring districts going down, and then reading, math, and science, the 3 subject areas, and you can compare the raw numbers that way. So you can see there are some districts around us that we outperformed, some districts around us that might have scored slightly higher than us in a couple different areas. But overall, Cannon Falls, again, performed well. We got good teachers doing good things. We've got staff development that ties in some like reading sessions, for example, or equitable education type of things to try to meet some kids that are maybe from low-income families, things like that. English language learners, things like that. So, yeah. Any questions? I don't think I have anything else on there, do I, Jeff? Nope.
Can you go back to maybe the first slide, it says general comments?
Yeah.
Please. Yeah. I see, Stephen, I see, decreases in reading and science follow decreases statewide in the same category, and then increase in math in both. Is there any indicators to why that would be, or is it something the state's doing, focusing on areas, or we're doing, or is it just?
A big push statewide now, pretty much every article you read is on school. That's a big one that is hit on everywhere, and that's something that locally that we're going to be trying to address as well. But nothing that I can think of. Part of that with some of the numbers that we're seeing is still, I don't love going back and blaming the pandemic on certain things, but we can see it. If you're in education, you can see the impact that the pandemic took on education. And then you can see that locally, you can see that statewide, you can see that nationwide as well. This is unrelated to MCAs, but if you look at naturalization citizenship tests that students take throughout the country, because some states you have to pass a citizenship test in order to graduate, those scores are lower. So it's across the board, results in general, and percent proficient in general is lower than it was in 2019, 2018, et cetera.
Thank you.
Are we lower than last year? Like
So-
our decrease, is our decrease lower than, you know what I mean? Like, are we trending down, or are we like kind of hanging around the same?
I know for math, we've increased since 2021 to 22 to 23 was an increase both of those years. Reading was a decrease last year and a slight decrease this year. It was small.
I thought science we increased last
Science,
year.
I think, was an increase last year
And
and then a
then
decrease this year.
Back down again this year. So, and I think that's where the cohort modeling.
Yep, that's why next year I'm
Next
gonna
year
get
when
back
we
to
bring
doing
it back.
So I'll have a big chart set up and it'll be color coded, so you can see for the 8th graders this year, for this coming year, for example, you can see going down how they performed in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th.
Awesome.
And So yeah,
Yeah.
I'll get back to doing that next year.
Other questions? Thank you. Okay, moving down into reports and communication. Does anyone have a committee report for us? Summertime?
Ed Foundation. We had a couple of Ed Foundation, Ken Falls Ed Foundation meetings. We talked about how we're going to set up a table at like the Bomber Day events, so people can have a little bit more information, be a little bit more informed about the Cannon Falls Ed Foundation, what they do and how they do it and everything like that. They have their poker social coming up September 30th. Give to the Max Day will be November 16th. We're gonna have a cybersecurity speaker in the winter, springtime. And then their benefit auction will be scheduled for April 13th. Otherwise, they were chatting about the construction open house, potentially popping around a little bit, and so yeah.
Anything to add? Clint?
Luke and I were both gone to the last facility. Is there any update you want to give on the last?
Well, we're heading into the last week of construction this week, and everybody seems to be okay at this point. We'll see what tomorrow brings.
On time and on budget.
We're still under budget. That isn't going to change. We're still on time until we're not.
Okay.
Thanks for asking me that in a public meeting.
I do see some smirks out there, so they're trying their best.
Let's
That's all
just say
can
we
hope
are
What are you gonna do?
right.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
We're professionals, we just make it work.
That's right. We get
It's very nice though.
It is. But I haven't talked to a classroom teacher who isn't just thrilled with the way classrooms look. They look great.
We took a quick tour after, I don't know what maybe after our last negotiation meeting, and went into Jamie's room, I think. And she seemed thrilled by the look, so that's any indication we're doing good.
And I think at our September board meeting, we are planning on having an open house at this point for the community. So everybody's invited on September 27th to make sure that we have most of the punch list done after the project is finished, so that we get some of the detailing, because the detailing we still need to do even after school begins. But have most of that done. But we want to take the board on a tour on that Monday before the open house, just so that you guys get a sneak peek at it. So. Yeah. Everything's okay. Everything's just fine.
I would just add, extracurricular met several times, committee, regarding the co-ops, which we're gonna touch on later in the agenda.
Okay. Had a GCED meeting last week, and procedurally, we just looked at the new hires, the folks that left GCED. We talked about the budget a little bit, and it's always kind of a very thin margin with the budget as they struggle to make sure they get enough incoming receipts taken care of. And so more procedural than anything. We did have some idle conversation about a couple of districts that may want to join us. And it's in its infancy right now. But a couple that may want to move toward us. It's a very efficiently run GCED, and not all may be like that. So nothing more there.
Is there pros or cons to adding additional districts to our group?
I think at this point in time, there's probably more cons, because
Is there?
you're, just,
More needs? Less?
well, both of those districts have independent needs from one another.
Okay.
So one is at present not associated with any type of ed district. And so whether or not that, well, it's premature to discuss, but there was some very idle talk about it, so. Anyone else, any other committee reports? Okay, if not, we'll move down to administrative board reports. Elementary school, Jen, do you have anything more than what you listed here?
I don't believe so. To be honest, I don't remember exactly what I put on that list.
Would you like to see it? Would you like to see it?
Sure, that'd be great.
your numbers good?
Yeah, it's been an interesting summer with the increase in enrollment, and so that has been good. It's wonderful. Nothing else I believe to add besides I'm still, my plug for preschool LTS. I need an 8-week for maternity leave for a teacher, and I'm just hoping that TOC, our company, is gonna be able to come up with something. So, the one that I had in that place, actually is interviewed for the 4th grade position, so.
And that side note, we were involved with some 4th grade parents conversation, so that's a very positive step for us.
Yep. That was a large increase in that grade level. It's actually the same increase for 2nd grade, but 2nd grade was lower to begin with, so.
And then third is fairly big too, right? Third grade?
Yep,
Awesome.
We're pleased. And
great
So-
problem to have.
so just refer to your report in
Yep,
general.
and- Yep, nothing else to add there.
I'm excited for those kids to see that gym floor. I think bless those finance teachers, because they're gonna be nuts in there.
Yeah, they're thrilled by it.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. There's some new paint that was added, that is, I tried it out with my tennis shoes, scuff-free. So that will make Dave happy, but it's like graffiti-proof, and so it just looks wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
the
on
whole
camera.
building
Nothing
smells
covers
like,
graffiti proof.
I'm serious. The whole building smells like nail polish remover right now, so we're just hoping to,
So we're gonna have a lot of happy kids.
yeah, I guess, they're gonna be feeling real good, but,
Okay, moving on, middle school, high school tech. Tim, do you have anything to add to your report?
Just one thing, between when I did my report and tonight, we had 2 students that were recognized by the College Board for an award that I've not heard about before, but it is a National Rural Scholar Award. So Piper O'Gorman and Sarah O'Shea both qualified for that. The qualifications were a 3.5 or above GPA, and I think what it said was a highly competitive PSAT score. So again, like I've said before, we've had several years in a row where we've had some kids do really well in the national merit qualifying, and we've got 2 students this year who have done a great job with that. So, like Mr. Sampson said, everything's all fine, it's all great, it's all gonna be ready to go sometime.
Always good to
Be
recognize
ready to go until it isn't.
our scholastics. It's always nice to hear.
Oh, and we had our 6th grade bomber day today, so we had our 6th graders in the building practicing lockers and practicing schedules and asking lots of questions. So it was really great. We had about 71 students, so we had almost the whole grade here. So that's a great day for them to be able to get exposure to the building. So when they come next week, they've kind of, had some time to not be brand new to everything, so.
Always a stressful time for
It is, yeah.
That's awesome that you guys are gonna listen to Dr. Brown speak.
Yes, so we were invited by the Ed District, so everybody's going tomorrow afternoon, yeah.
He does a really good job.
Yeah, good experience for him.
Community Ed and Activities Department. Reed?
Yeah, I apologize that I didn't get anything submitted for you here, but I'll give you a quick overview of what's been going on. I know you're gonna talk about it here moving forward here, but we were able to secure a full-time trainer for us here currently. I have not heard anything more. He still wants to be a college coach, but I haven't heard anything more about that, which I feel is good at this time. So he's been here currently working. Huddle TV is something that we just signed on Friday and should be in place, will be in place by the first day of school. Huddle TV is something that we're already using in our gym for our live streaming, for our indoor campus, or for our indoor facilities that are in the gym. However, Huddle TV is a new component that they are able to broadcast it. So we will go away from YouTube and we'll use the Huddle TV. There's no copyright, I've been assured of that, so we will not be put in YouTube jail anymore. We'll have sound, we'll be able to hear things. We've also looked at, we've upgraded our level of our Huddle subscription. It allows, so when you get to, hopefully in about a week and a half to 2 weeks, if you get out to soccer, we've purchased these flex cameras that are gonna be on this 40-foot telescopic tripod that essentially be the same as the indoor camera, and will automatically follow the ball. It'll go into their Huddle package, plus it'll also live stream, because there's a cellular piece that goes along with that. So both boys and girls soccer will have that part. They have said down the road that they expect that type of, that those same flex cameras could also be used for baseball and softball. I'm a little skeptical on that, of the ground ball to third and I'll throw it at first base and how quick that's going to happen. But nonetheless, they are looking for more and more ways to live stream more activities. Also with this upgrade, we'll also take many of our programs that were the silver package up to the gold package, so that would take care of their game stats, and also break down a scout portion, so any opponents that they coming up, they will get that type of feedback directly from the company. So a time saver and a great tool for coaches. Also, and I'm just gonna quickly touch on this last component of Huddle TV, is that there will be an opportunity for the package that we have just solidified for securing some support from the community with sponsorship and what that could look like. Now, there's a couple different components of whether it's just powered by ads up until the game starts, or there's another version of we could do something where those ads continue to show while the game is being broadcasted. So we gotta work through those bugs. We got some technology, we will have the capabilities to do that. We just gotta figure that out. And what that's gonna look like before I reach out to the community to see if there's any interest for that.
There is the ad, our marketing ad will show.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
So we had a 30-second or so
25
marketing
seconds.
ad from, I don't know, it showed up on your, those creepy ads that show up on your phone. That will play before every broadcast of our game. And so if you want to watch our game, you'll need to watch 30-second marketing ad of our school district.
I like it.
And you cannot, I've been told, what I've been said is that you cannot
Skip
fast
it.
forward
Can't press
Or
the
skip.
commercial button.
through that commercial. And for anybody that we play, if it's an away game or whatever else, our logo, our brand will show up on their feed. So, yes. Continue to work on game workers. We've been doing EAP, our emergency action plans, with our fall coaches and working on getting all that finalized, just with the cardiac arrest, where to happen, whether it's a coach, whether it's official, whether it's a student athlete, what does it look like? Where's that nearest AED, just so we're prepared. Just want to make sure that, I think even if you go back to last fall, the NFL, the Buffalo Bills player, it's just scary stuff. We just want to make sure that we have something, and obviously with having a trainer, that certainly gives us a peace of mind as well, but just want to have everybody prepared, where to go, where is the nearest EMS point, meet the ambulance and the police, and where that's going to look like. Also working on some branding opportunities. Would like to look at a windscreen here on the south facing the top part of this tennis court here, just to see what we can do to, as we're driving down, whether it's bomber tennis or whatever that looks like. I feel it's something that we can try to market and try to just kind of show off that facility there as well. And if there is a change, we would certainly move that with us as we move forward. And it would just be the top half, because this is the best shaded area here as well, and we have so many fans that sit right up there, so that's why we'll leave the lower half so that people would be able to see that. Currently 160 kids signed up for Cannon Kids before and after school for the school year, so when you get that many kids, those are good numbers, those are good problems to have. We just gotta figure out space and what that's gonna look like. and make that happen. Currently, our preschool, our total registration numbers are at 101. Again, that's just registration, that's not full-time. And we currently have 5 on the wait list with the potential of 2 more coming that I believe are siblings, so we'll keep a close eye on that and what that's gonna look like.
Reed, is there any way you can community ed office remind families that we're doing the free entry for all Cannon Falls students to our events?
Yeah, we're still working on, because we're trying to get this blast out here before the first day of school, what that's gonna look like, mainly for those high school kids. You know, even though we did talk about extracurricular committee maybe not wanting to do the ID, we're rethinking that and whether that might be the best solution, even if it's just a picture of their ID and it's on their phone, so that we can
Sure.
see that, just to kind of help us instead of having a 10-page list of, you know, pre-K through 12 check, especially if Tammy isn't.
Tammy knows everyone.
Right, but the problem is Tammy's got kids playing sports and she's away, so just wanna make sure that we have that extra check and balance, but yeah, something's gonna get, blasted out soon for that.
Cool.
I had a few families, I had kind of talked to Jen about it, I had a few families reach out to me about the sign up for Cannon Kids. And I'm sure, you know, it was probably discussed with all of these incoming kindergarten families and stuff like that in the spring, right, when kindergarten, you know, everything like that happened. But throughout the entire summertime, it maybe wasn't brought up again or maybe wasn't emailed again. So then when it came down to it, crunch time for the final week, like, hey, you guys gotta get your papers in by tomorrow, very few families had remembered that or acknowledged that or whatever, that kind of thing. I don't know if we can do a little bit more communication in that aspect.
Sure.
In that realm, just kind of saying, keeping people in the loop and stuff like that, especially all these new families. I had a lot of new families too reach out and kind of say like, well, gosh, like, am I supposed to look at my email? Am I supposed to look on social media? Like, where am I supposed to be looking? Like, should I be looking at the PTO page? Should I be looking at the elementary page? Like, why is there so many pages? Why do I be looking so many places to find just one piece of information? So I definitely had some new families, concerns in that department, but I don't know if we want to come up with a different plan or something. Make sure we don't lose people. Something.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Head of Operations and Maintenance, Dave has got a real brief narrative there. I'll let you refer to that. And next is the SOUPS report. Jeff?
Yeah, a couple of my items we've already talked about, but I just wanted to highlight our social media, our quarterly social media report card that we get. There was one report in here, and I think it was the construction beginning for the bond project reached about 10,000 people, just short of 9,500 people in that one post. So I thought that was a huge reach, obviously. And obviously you can see where we're at this year compared with this time last year, and I think it's kind of ebbs and flows throughout the summertime, but there was a lot more engagement in the February, March, April timeframe. So I think it's working out pretty well. We're getting more engagement through social media and telling our story and all the positive things that we have going on in the district. So it's been a great thing. We have talked about what we're going to do with Twitter. That's still up in the air, so more to come on that. So they're recommending that we drop Twitter out of it, and I guess I can't say I disagree with that, but I want to research that a little bit more. So construction update, we've kind of talked about. Everything's fine, all is well. We will make it through this week. And then we do have a tentative community open house on September 27th from 5 to 7 p.m. that we are in the stages of planning right now, and so more information will be coming on that. But if you want to put that on your calendar, you can certainly do that. And that'll be for a tour of the middle school, high school construction zone areas and our donation area from Gemini. And then we'll kind of make the idea is to have it, people go out the back through the shop areas that were renovated and grab hopefully a burger or a hot dog and some chips and walk down to the elementary and see the changes down there in the gym and in the back area. And we should have grass and everything should be fine by then too.
Are you grilling with me?
Yeah.
See, it's the positive, like, half full Jennifer.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I'll have to grasp for that.
What time is this gonna be tentatively?
Tentatively, we're got it set for 5 to 7, I believe was the conversation.
And Luke and I will be grilling.
Eat at your own risk.
Yep.
That's either or fun, huh? And you did talk about a preliminary meeting, board members walking through.
Yeah, we want to, so at the next board meeting in September, which is September 25th, I think, we'd probably just take a short walk around, at least this building, to look at the bigger changes here, so that you guys kind of get a sneak peek at that ahead of time.
Anything else?
Nope, that's all I got for now.
Questions for Jeff? Okay, moving along, public input. Rather than read all of this, most of the folks I see out here are school-related. Does anyone wish to speak to the board members about any particular item related to the school? Good, I don't have to read that. Consideration to approve the finance report. Mr. Davison?
Yeah. So just kind of short and brief, it's the capital worksheet you're used to seeing. The top will be the bank balance. It's currently in our checking account. It does not include the building construction fund. We transfer money from that account to our bank account when we need to make payments on bills. You'll see that first line there, the outstanding checks. That's because a batch of checks for the last month progress on the construction project went out. Generally don't have quite $1 million worth of bills went out on a normal month, but during construction we will. Another item to kind of point out on there would be the 2022 project reimbursement. Throughout there, we show cash flow that was anticipated when the projects first started, of kind of where they might be at each month and what would be going out and what would be coming back in. That number there, the 1.369 million, represents expenses that the district has paid out in construction but has yet to have been reimbursed by the construction project fund. And the reason to do that, as long as we have cash and are able to flow that, we earn better interest on those bonds and money market that we have those funds in. And the goal and the object there is to earn as much interest on those funds as we can to help fund some other items in the project. Some things were like the EFS outside of the building, where maybe the birds have made their homes and have been evicted now in the last couple of days. And hopefully we'll be able to do some other projects that are maybe dire needs or facility needs in the building or the district that will be eaten up by LTFM dollars later on down the line. And if we can help reduce the impact on those LTFM dollars now, that gives us more opportunity to fill in other projects that are needed. As I think some people are finding out as they go through facility meetings, $100,000 doesn't go very far. It goes pretty quick. So the more we can build up in that interest, and the better we can help save some projects from the LTFM list, the better flexibility we have when those projects come up. So that's kind of the game that we try to play there, and make sure we can, again, run our cash flow, but maintain as much interest as we can. Other items that are throughout there, you will see, and most are aware, as you've seen this before, IDEAS payments are the main funding of school districts, the money from the state of Minnesota. It comes in on the 15th and the 30th. At the end of the month, the end of October and beginning of November, we will have our first run, I guess, in our fiscal year. It's really the second payment of the taxes, as most people go on a calendar year. But the second payment, I guess, for your county taxes will come to the district. The first half payment comes in the end of October, usually the 24th, and then in that first part of November. Usually when county taxes come in, we see a slight reduction in IDEAS payments as the state balances off that, so the cash flow kind of stays pretty neutral to districts. Other items that kind of stick out in there are bus leases. We will have a transportation meeting when we have a week or two or more into school. We kind of know where routes are at and whatnot. But looking at transportation needs more or less for the future. We've got vehicle needs taken care of for current fiscal year, but as we look ahead and try to keep on path with buses in that rotation to make sure we have healthy vehicles to transport kids. Our recent bus that we just purchased was in order. It's a gas bus. We generally have all diesel except for the
vehicles that are vans to transport, maybe some IEP students or smaller trips, to give that a try. Part of it is to see how a gas bus can work for us, so it would be maybe a little less maintenance cost, a little bit easier to change an engine if that were to happen than a diesel engine. Part of it also is that we used to buy buses for about 90 grand, and now it's more like 130 grand for a gas bus. So as that cost goes, we try to find ways that we can be maybe more flexible with it. The other thing that kind of helps us this year with the van rotation is it used to be 12 years from the manufacturer of a vehicle, and then it had to be basically out of rotation for us. That's changed now. As long as they pass DOT inspection, we're able to push them a little bit longer. So we have a good mechanic and we take good care of the vehicle. As long as we can get them passed and they're safe and DOT passes them, we get a little past 12 years. So that'll be part of our transportation committee when we talk with that. If we've got vans already getting to the end of their life cycle, they can still make it through. It can save a little bit on the budget to maybe help offset some of that cost of the bus as well when we buy those. So those are kind of the highlights in the finance report. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer.
Any questions for Josh? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the finance report as shown.
I'll make a motion.
Jolynn
I'll second.
and Luca in the second. Further discussion? All in favor of the approval of the finance report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consent agenda. Items under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted under one motion. In the event a board member wants to discuss any particular item, it will be removed from consent agenda for separate action. Jeff likes to recognize gifts, so I'll turn it
Yes.
over to you.
Thank you. Yes, this month we had $1,000 donated from JD and Holly Leland for the Cannon Falls girls tennis. We had $398 donated by the Cannon Falls Ed Foundation for standing desks and treadmill in Mrs. Laddiff's room. $459 from the Ed Foundation for bridges to intervention in Miss Nemchek's room. $569.73 from the Ed Foundation for high-interest books in Laddiff's room. $1,400 from the Ed Foundation and Western Digital for robotics. $790.28 from the Ed Foundation for the Nugget furniture in Miss Rezak's room. And $1,500 from the Ed Foundation for ICEV classroom software license in Miss Dolan's room. So thank you again for all of our generous donors.
Okay. Have you reviewed that consent agenda? And if so, I would look for a motion to approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Clint on the motion,
I'll second.
seconded by Luke. Other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. New biz, we dropped the number 1, and so we moved down to the number 2, consideration to approve a leave request in accordance with the teacher's master agreement, Article 10, leaves of absence, Section 10. Jeff?
This is for Rachel Langer, and I recommend approval.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Luke on the motion, Jolynn on the second. Other discussion? All in favor of the leave request, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve a 1.0 FTE special ed teacher for the 23-24 school year.
This is for Joel Justin, and I recommend approval.
I'll make a motion.
Jolynn on the motion,
Second?
seconded by Clint. Other discussion?
Is this in addition to our current staffing or a replacement?
It's a replacement of a staff member that went to a different position in our school.
Correct.
Fair to say?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of the approval of the 1.0 sped teacher, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the revised co-op activity athletic program per participant rate recommendation from the extracurricular committee. This is a discussion item and a vote that we had last May, so we can come up to date. Maybe I'll hand it off to Reed first, or would just as soon have a
Yeah,
member?
we'd already kind of gone through this whole process, and I would say superintendent started talking, and there was more discussion there, which brought us to another extracurricular committee meeting, so I'll
Yeah.
throw it back to you.
Yeah, I think the best way to say it is reconsideration was given to what we decided upon in May. And we brought, some more information back to the, extracurricular committee, for their consideration and to approve the agreement that we eventually came up with. That's the best way
Yeah.
to say that.
Luke,
I mean, long story short, we had gone through this previously, but we knew what we were charging the co-op school back when was not what we thought was fair. So we went through a process of trying to figure out what that number was and then go back to them. And it took some negotiating, going back and forth to get there. But essentially, we will, going forward, will charge a per participation fee, which we had done originally, but it will double to the co-op school. So, and that was something that they agreed on. They thought that was fair. Our first agreement, we just had to figure out where that additional fees come from. We did add in an admin fee, which had never been in there before, which is fair because we certainly have administration that is helping in that co-op. So essentially, it's gonna double what they've always paid, and they were happy. The co-op school fully understood that what they were paying in the past was on the
Short side.
short side.
be increased.
So we're in line, and it was a 3-year financial agreement.
It's a 3-year financial agreement.
Yeah,
This will be the agreement for now, moving forward,
right.
so.
And that per
It-
participant fee, how is that broken down by like parents pay versus the school pays?
The
We don't
parent- the
control
parents
what
just-
they-
The parents just pay an activity fee, and the school makes up.
Picks up.
Yep.
So that's the recommendation that came out of the extracurricular committee to review this and approve it.
Yep.
Okay. Look for a motion.
And I'd make the motion to approve.
Luke on the motion,
I'll second.
second by Jolynn. Other discussion? All in favor of the revised co-op agreement, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the 23-24 athletic trainer contract.
The, we were able to find an athletic trainer. We searched high and low over the last quite a few months. And we ended up finding our current person, Joel Caden, who had left Mayo Clinic, and so he'll become an employee of the school district if you guys approve this.
He was our Mayo trainer last year.
Yep.
Do you mind, I think since Pam is here, this would be a perfect time to talk about what Mayo Clinic chose to do here.
So we were informed last March, maybe even before that.
Yeah, I wanna say April, May.
Okay. That Mayo Clinic was dropping us and Randolph
I believe so.
were the two schools that they were not offering training services to, as they have in the past. And so we tried working with Mayo to try to find a different alternative, both the clinic here in town and the one in Red Wing, and we were not able to come up with that. And so we were kind of left to, I don't know, fend for ourselves to try to find something. And so we went to different companies in the South Metro, and they weren't interested or they couldn't find enough. I mean, part of the issue is that there's just a shortage of trainers. But luckily, we ended up having our old trainer come back, but not work for Mayo anymore and work for us. So a little bit of a cost increase,
Yeah.
but for the safety of kids, I guess I'm recommending that we accept this. So
Okay,
So we still have concern that he can, well, how's the contract laid out? So
It's
he can leave throughout
for
the
the
year?
school year. And so, you know, if he chooses to take a college coaching deal, then we would probably have to have, you know, different conversations around that.
So that could happen mid-year.
It could, but I would say that if this were to happen, he could still help us
Do
for
summer.
fall and winter at some point. Spring would be the most that would be impacted.
And if he went that route, we'd have to come up with different alternatives for the following year anyway.
Right.
So,
Well, yeah, right now we're at a position where we don't have it.
yeah,
So we only have him contracted just for this 1 year at this point.
yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah. We're all year by year.
I
Yeah.
see it's, his contract is for $59,000. Is that net of what we serviced before by Mayo? Like our bill to Mayo Clinic was X. Is this,
Significant increase.
right, but so if we paid 20,000 in the past, are we eating that full 59,000 or?
No, it's not above and beyond
59 is,
the, what
last
we're
year was
paying.
30. This year
Okay.
is 59.
Okay.
So it's
Double.
29 increase.
okay, look for a motion to approve the 23-24 athletic trainer contract.
I'll move to approve.
Luke on the motion,
I'll second.
seconded by Clint. Other discussion? Thank you for the diligence you put in to find someone. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? That is carried. Consideration to approve the updated 23-24 fall coaching staff list.
They are indicated in red of all of the changes. If we go to the football there, we just had some rearrangement here based off work schedules of what that needed to look like. So there was some flip-flopping, so I wanted to make sure you were aware of that and could approve that. And assistant director, vocal piece at volunteer, the fall musical, if you slide down, and then the last two for boys soccer. Recommend approval.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Jolynn to approve the updated fall coaching list. Second,
I'll second.
second by Clint. Other discussion? All in favor of approval of the fall coaching list, say aye. Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve adding a fourth grade section and teaching position.
As most of you know, we've had a pretty good increase in our fourth grade specifically, and that went outside of our guidelines that we have as a district on how to set class section sizes, and so I would recommend that we add a section first, and then we do have a name to go with that section so that we can increase it. I know it's kind of last minute and kind of awkward here, but
It's not awkward, it's very positive.
well, it's very positive, yes, but it's kind of I kind of said this is what we're doing.
And then all the classes can get rearranged just like that?
They already have.
All
Right?
They're all
Yeah, they already
done?
have, yeah, we pulled the third grade team together to help, do another class placement meeting like they did last March.
And just so that you know, kind of the fear is if you don't do anything and you have people move in the district, you can't lock them out of coming here. Now, one of the options that we could have done was closed open enrollment just in fourth grade, but you run the risk of a family having a fourth grader
Right.
that wants to
Sibling.
come here from a
Right.
different district, and they say, oh yeah, we got 3 other kids also, but because you won't take our fourth grader, now we're gonna go somewhere else.
Sure.
And so,
There'll be a lot of happy fourth grade parents though.
Yep.
yes.
Okay, look for a motion to approve adding a section and a position.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Jolynn on the motion, Luke on the second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the 23-24 1.0 FTE fourth grade contract.
Yes, the name is Caitlin Schrader.
Schroeder,
Schroeder. I was gonna ask you that, was it Schroeder or Schrader? Schroeder.
Cannon Falls grad. Yep.
Nice.
Look for a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve.
Luke, on the motion,
One second.
seconded by Clint. Other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve a resignation and the discussion of the next step.
The resignation is from Bill Thompson, board member, and the board needs to decide what they are going to do to replace the process. There's different options that you can do. I would not recommend doing a special election, just simply because of the cost of that involved. The board can appoint someone because we are past, what was the date, Lori? August 8th? Because the resignation came in after August 8th, the board can appoint somebody until the next general election cycle, which would be in November of '24. Throw something at me if I say something wrong, Lori. Okay. The board can ask people to apply and hold interviews if they wish, and then choose from that. So there's various things that the board can do at this point. Again, I would
But we can't leave that
recommend
spot open?
No, you gotta fill it to the best of your ability.
And his was a 4-year,
It's
yes,
until
we left.
It's just gonna go to the next.
15
November.
months.
Next
Yeah.
year in November, it'll be a 2-year seat.
oh,
So just plug it in on a temporary basis.
Correct.
So we need to decide, I think, this evening, what our protocol would be there. My mind, I'll speak first, it's just nice to be able to appoint someone. The other issue on voting for someone or having a general election is 15 grand out of our pocket. And it just sounds, to me, it's ludicrous to spend that money if we can just find a capable person. And what do you think?
I think taking applications, is a good idea. I think the community would appreciate that versus us just randomly picking someone.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the random thing,
Well,
but
but you know what I mean, yeah. Give them the opportunity if somebody wants to.
would that process be somewhat cumbersome for us? I mean, we take applications in, we set a date. Who do we charge that to as far as taking applications? And do we just open it up? It might take us more than a meeting or two.
What have we done in the past? I mean, I like staying consistent. If we've been consistent doing it a certain way and it's worked in the past, I think doing
Well,
that.
I think we did a general election and that didn't end up so well because we had petitions and,
We didn't do a general
No,
election.
that
we
was
did
a-
the interview
I'm sorry.
process.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
took applications.
And so, that ended up to be kind of messy, I think, and cost us at least a couple of meetings of conversation, but this is a majority here. What do you think?
Otherwise, is it all 4 of us individually coming up with somebody and then having a discussion on it and then
And
agreeing between?
It certainly can be that way.
Plus
5 of
Katie.
us with Katie, certainly can be that way. And it can also be bringing those names forward and just asking that person if they want to be appointed to that spot. So it's kind of open for us.
I'm kind of with Joel on this one. I think the community does deserve a chance to put themselves out there and go through some sort of process. I don't know if I want to be tasked picking someone myself and saying, darn it, I want this person. I think if that person's out there, they can go through a process of putting their name in a application and filling that out, and who picks up those duties of coming up with an application. I think we just used one not long ago, we could use again. And then how it gets out to the community is is
I mean,
one thing I'm
it
not
was just,
sure.
it was just an online process, wasn't it?
It's a little more than that, but yes.
And so, let's just say we use that, what would the procedure be? To email it to, I hate to say it, to email it to Lori? And then, would she come back with those prior to if we set a deadline before our next meeting, right? So we can review those at the meeting? Do we hold a special meeting, or isn't that something we can do or should do?
You can certainly hold a special meeting for it.
Can we do a workshop to review applications, or since everyone will be here, it has to be a public meeting?
Anytime you have more than four or more, you need to have
It's
a public.
public,
Yeah.
everything you do will be public.
I don't know. I just feel if it was me and I had interest and a board member didn't approach me about an open position, or maybe I didn't do the diligence of keeping in tune with the meetings, I probably wouldn't be super happy about that. And if this at least gets us down the path of making it public and out there.
I know we had some concerns with stuff like that, maybe the last go around or so. Maybe things weren't as public as what they could have been, or as well known as what they could have been, maybe. So maybe to avoid that this go around.
Clint, what's your thoughts?
How are we, if we go with the application kind of route, how are we getting that out to the public? Besides a
I guess the
a
usual
recorded meeting?
means- I guess the usual means would be through the Beacon and through the social media platform that we have.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last time we went through this, there was a whole list of people that were interested, so,
Yeah, there's, 10,
yeah.
15 applicants.
Were we able to pare that down at that particular, well enough ahead of time, or did we have interaction on a board meeting with that being a topic?
I think all of you guys got copies of the
Applicants.
applicants and what they wrote,
I don't
and
think-
then you
No,
guys
neither of us were on the board when that.
made,
Oh, I know, I didn't get voted for.
and the board at the time, I believe, made motions.
I mean, it could be something like, the applications get gathered, maybe they get all emailed to us or whatever, we get to read through them individually on our own time kind of thing, and then come to a meeting and have a conversation, hey, this is who I thought, maybe these are my top 2
Well,
picks.
those would become public
They're all on
information.
the agenda.
Yeah,
it'll
so
be sent
you
out
guys
to
are
just
getting
like
with the
this.
agenda.
Like this agenda was sent. You'll review that, you'll come here, you might say, I nominate so-and-so, and you go through the whole process, and you're gonna pick someone else, and you might pick someone else, and so on and so on.
So let's at least discuss when we want this opened up, as early as tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Let's get started.
Mhm.
And how long should we keep it open for? Couple weeks?
Yeah.
Gives us time, just in case we need time.
Yeah, I think 2 weeks is
Is
plenty.
2 weeks
Mhm.
good for everyone?
Yeah. I think as long as it can make it to the paper and make it on social media or whatever.
It might
Got
have
that,
been
Al?
paper
I say, you got that?
There were things going on
Paper-wise,
this week.
So obviously it can be online here in the next few days.
Oh,
It's
sure.
Deadline night tonight for me,
Oh,
so it will not be in Thursday's paper, that ship is kind of sailed. So it'll be in next Thursday's paper.
So we get a free advertisement out of it, right?
I suppose.
So we'll open up the process, subject to everyone's approval here. We'll open up the process as early as tomorrow, at least get it out there. And it lasts for 2 weeks. That's good for all of us.
What do you want to do after 2 weeks?
Then would we get that information sent to us, or is that,
Or do you want to have a special
Not
meeting?
ahead of time.
do we want to have a special meeting? We could have a special meeting to review the information and then come to a vote at that particular.
Because as soon as they're appointed, it's right away the next meeting there.
No.
No,
They
they got a
need to
30
wait
days.
30
They still gotta go that
30 days,
process.
so it probably behoove you to have a special meeting the following week after it's due, because if you ended on the 12th, you gotta have a 3-day notice unless you wanna have a meeting on a Friday or a Saturday. And so then you're looking at the 18th, or I would say maybe the 19th or 20th to have a special meeting. You decide on somebody then. Does that fit within the 30 days, Lori, to have them seated near the end of October?
I have to sit and count.
So what's the purpose of a special meeting?
Just to go over all the applicants.
Or you could
Is
wait.
that-
You could wait until the 25th, but that person won't be seated until the first meeting in November.
Right, November 13th would be their seat.
I'd say we have a special meeting as quick as we possibly can after whatever, if we're giving 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Good, yeah.
Having it on that, regular board meeting just takes up
It's gonna take,
possibly a lot of time.
boy, yeah, you're gonna have
For sure.
a 3-hour meeting.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, special meeting, you got your calendars here, we should be looking that up.
It's September 18th.
The
The week
18th.
before.
Yeah.
How
Stick,
about the,
stick
how
with
about
a
the
Monday.
19th?
You don't like the 18th? No.
I won't be able to make it.
Yeah,
Unless
you
guys
should
want
be
me-
here.
If you don't want me to be here.
What date did you throw out?
19th or 20th? I prefer the 19th because the 20th is a Southeast Minnesota Region 1A meeting that we usually go
What
to.
does Tuesday, the 19th look for you folks?
Let me look. You said the 19th?
Is anyone against it being just a touch later, like
In the evening?
7:30 or something?
The 19th would be good.
Or earlier, like 4 o'clock? Like to watch my boy play football.
For sure.
Katie always said she could make 3:30 and later. So we can either do that or 4 o'clock or 7:30,
That's fine too. If we need to go earlier, I'm fine with that.
What are the events that night? Because your applicants might be parents of these events.
we can ask Reed what's on the cook.
You're gonna have 7th and 8th grade home football.
Okay.
What time is that for?
And I don't know if you can even begin to plan around that. you know?
No, but Mondays are typically not event nights. That's why we have board meetings.
Or Wednesdays, right?
We were talking Tuesday at the last conversation.
So Tuesday the 19th?
Mm-hmm.
Can we go Tuesday, the 19th at
Yes.
7:30? That will fit in.
Does that work?
Yeah, 7:30 is fine with me.
Okay.
It's either that or 4 or 4, whatever.
7:30 is better for me, but
All right, let's do what's better for at least two of us, huh?
what time do they play?
8th grade's right after 7th grade at home, right?
Yes.
So like 6 o'clock start?
Okay, let's
We'll be
plug in
7:30.
Let's plug in
7:30?
September 19th, which is a Tuesday, at 7:30, special board meeting.
So how soon can we get the applications before that to look at them?
You won't get them individually as a board before that. You'll get it when I post that agenda.
Oh, okay.
So probably when they close on that Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll have to prepare an agenda
For sure.
and stuff and then get it out.
When we do negotiations, very typically, we'll set a time parameter there. Do we need to set one here, 7:30, an hour meeting? Or is that kind of cutting us short?
Boy.
No.
I don't know.
I hope we can do it in an hour.
I would say, I hope so. Suppose it depends on what kind of applicants we get.
Should we tentatively set it for an hour?
Yeah.
After I took that abuse about that 2.5-hour meeting, I'm just very conscious of the fact that we need to get it done.
So did you guys decide on a process?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys vote on it?
Do we have to make a motion then?
I don't know if we do or not. This is one of those situations where we can just speak to what we'd like to do.
Okay.
So I'll move to approve the resignation and discussion we had regarding the.
I'll second it.
Luke on the motion, Jolynn on the second, to approve the resignation of Bill Thompson and continue on with the next steps for appointing a new one, a new member to replace him. Correct?
Right.
Any other discussion?
Just like to thank Bill for his time on the board and
For
doing
sure.
it, and he was able to take a job that is near and dear to his heart, so good for him.
He's moving up to his old stomping grounds, so that's a good thing. Yeah, it's tough to lose a man of that character.
And then in return, we get more kids.
Yeah,
to the
right.
school.
Yeah, no kidding.
We traded Bill for money.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, and on the floor. We've closed discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, number 10, resignation.
This is Peter Duggan, and I recommend approval.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Luke on the motion, Clint on the second. Other discussion? All in favor of the resignation approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 11, rehire. Jeff?
This is for Sue Frankie, 1.0 for the year, and I recommend approval.
I'll move to approve.
I will
Luke on the
second.
motion, Clint on the second. To rehire Sue Frankie for the upcoming school year.
Yep.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. So when you look down here at our next regular scheduled board member or meeting, we have Brad Lindell coming from C. Brad is a Cannon Falls alumnus, class of about 68, who's done a remarkable job with his lobbying group. We've been a part of that for a while. I think
You probably know Brad. Have you ran into Brad up at the Capitol
I haven't,
from C? Okay.
I don't think so.
What's C again?
Schools for Equity and Education.
I don't
So
think
there's MREA, there's C.
I have.
I'll have to tell Brad to come and visit you.
And anything else that you'd like to plug in? Now we've got that resolving that extra board member that on our agenda as well. And anything you think that needs to be discussed, please let Jeff or Lori know. And does anyone else have anything for the cause? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Luke on the motion.
I'll second.
Seconded by Joe Lynn. You guys are really busy tonight when we're missing two, aren't you? Any other discussion? All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are finished.